It all went down last night in a hastily arranged Senate meeting. The MAGA Senate gave President Major Trump a major victory by cutting and stopping all federal monies for public broadcasting, that is PBS and NPR. PBS stands for Public Broadcasting Systems, and NPR is National Public Radio. Tyrone Bowman, live. Let's talk about this story as reported by CNN. Radio and TV stations may need to lay off staffers and cut back programming. Popular shows like Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood may reach fewer people. Big Bird of Sesame Street fame isn't going away, but the financial system that supported him for decades is being stripped away. Once the House passes the bill, as they will, as expected, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting's budget will be zeroed out for the first time since 1967, back when television stations still broadcast in black and white. It is a long-sought victory for President Trump, who has harshly criticized PBS and NPR. Newscasts of being biased and a long-dreaded disruption for local stations that bank on taxpayer support. The precise effects are hard to predict because other funders may fill in some of the gaps. However, public media executives say that some smaller broadcasters will be forced off the air in the months and years to come. That's because stations in rural areas and smaller communities tend to rely more heavily on the federal subsidy. Stations in large markets typically have a wider variety of other funding sources, like viewer donations and foundation support. Advocates say the entire system of non-commercial media will become weaker without the foundational support from taxpayers, resulting in fewer original shows and less local news coverage. Kirker said in a statement that these cuts will significantly impact all of our stations and will be especially devastating to smaller stations and those serving large rural areas. She pointed out that the stations provide access to free, unique local programming and emergency alerts. Emergency alerts. The two Republican senators who voted against the recession, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, both said they valued those aspects of public media, even while criticizing perceived bias of some NPR programming. Senators, you can't have it both ways. Most other Republicans, however, concentrated on the bias complaints above all else and argued that the entire system is obsolete in the streaming age. Well, what else would the Senate do? You know they weren't going to vote against the president because they're scared. They are scared to go against him. So they're going to vote with him. Every time he tells them what to do, they're going to do it. PBS and NPR were chartered to provide objective journalism, Bozell wrote. Instead, we got dragged shows for kids, gushing coverage of Democrats, and silence or smears for conservatives. Well, you've got the racist and bigoted network, Fox. They only make the Republicans look good no matter how clumsy and awkward and racist and bigoted they are. You got the Fox network over there, and they don't do nothing but praise everything that Republicans do. They don't even want to sit down and talk with Democrats with civility. They always have terrible, bad, pathetic attitudes, rotten host on the show. Everything that they cover over there is one-sided, self-opinionated. Half of the people who work for Fox don't even know what they're talking about when they're looking into the lens of the camera. Yes, I said it. They don't know. And they definitely don't want to talk about black people in a positive light, like black people are the only ones that have problems. Everybody has problems. Every culture, every ethnicity, every race, every group of people, especially white people. Everybody has problems. So it's not monolithic to categorically say that only one group of individuals have problems. I don't like Fox. I don't watch nothing they do. I don't care. That's why I don't put anything from that network on my platform. And When you're heartless and you're a coward, especially like those folk are in the Senate, these are the results that you're going to get every single time. Public media officials say critics completely distort what actually airs on stations. Thursday morning's report about the clackback on NPR's Morning Edition, for example, was studiously neutral, and the host pointed out that NPR management was not involved in the news coverage of its own funding dilemma. Nearly 3 in 4 Americans say they rely on their public radio stations for alerts and news for their public safety. NPR CEO Catherine Mayer said in a statement, arguing that NPR is a lifeline. That may be true, but you got social media. You can find out anything you want to find out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, if people really want to do it. And if you don't have public radio or public TV, then what you need to do, get yourself a provider where you can get all the type of information that you want. And you don't have to sit around and just wait for somebody to decide what to tell you. Early Thursday morning, America's public television stations and advocacy group for the stations argued that the recession defies the will of the American people, citing both the polls and the fact that Congress actually allocated the next round of funding earlier this year. Hey, y'all, it doesn't matter. The decision has been made. You're not getting any more money. They're not going to give it to you. All right, it's not going to happen. In 1967, when Congress created the corporation, it declared that non-commercial TV and radio for instructional, educational, and cultural purposes was in the public interest. Shows like Sesame Street and Antiques Roadshow sprang forth. Now, the Antiques Roadshow, something I really liked. I used to watch it all the time. The public media system continued to enjoy bipartisan support from lawmakers for many years, even as conservative activists sought to strip away the taxpayer funding. You know, let me tell you something about these so-called conservative MAGA advocates. All they care about is what they want. That's why I keep telling you all, start your own nonprofit.org. Start your own nonprofit organization. Advocate for your own causes and your own positions. And any group who doesn't go along with your ideology, shut them down. That's what Republicans do. They got all these nickel and dime nonprofit organizations spread out around the country, hold their little conventions. And anybody who doesn't agree with them or like them, they want to picket, they want to boycott. But when we start doing the same thing, then you have a problem. We started picketing. We started boycotting. You don't think it works? Go back into the annals of history and see what happened during the civil rights movement when black people got tired of Jim Crow and racism and bigotry down in the South. They shut the entire bus system down. For 1 full year, black people refused to ride the buses. They refused to pay full fare and then get treated. People love their dogs and their animals and people. Put the dog in the bed with them and all that kind of silly stuff. You know? But when black people decided they were going to carpool, they weren't going to become sub-citizens anymore, the White Citizens Council down in Alabama got together to sue Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Montgomery Boycott Business Association to try to make black people pay full fare and sit in the back of the bus. What kind of foolishness is that? So don't tell me boycotting doesn't work. It does work. And listen up, black folk. So I got a lot of hundreds of black people who subscribe to this channel. You better come to your senses and start organizing and strategizing and planning. Because there are a lot of sinister things that's coming down the pipe that you can't even begin to imagine. We can have whatever anybody else has. We can do what any other group of people do. We can organize and plan and strategically and intelligently and articulately convey our opinion. I already told the Democrats one time before, I said, the problem with you all, you don't have a voice. Y'all don't know how to fight fire with fire. Y'all don't know how to take a position and stand on it. Y'all don't know how to hound your enemies down the way your enemies hound you down. You need to hire me to be the spokesperson. Hell, the Republicans can hire me to be this spokesperson. It doesn't matter. Money is green. It's neither black nor white. It's neither MAGA nor Democrat. So the money is going to stop flowing to PBS and NPR. But Trump hasn't proven to be much more assertive. Earlier this year, Trump made it a priority to claw back the funding before the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was set to receive it in October. For decades, Republicans have promised to cut NPR, but never done it until now, Trump boasted in a Truth Social post last month. The funding almost $1.1 billion that had been allocated for the next 2 years will start to dry up in the fall. I'd like to start my own social media platform. Let me get together. I dare a group of investors to get behind me and give me a major platform and watch what happens. But some local stations are already making changes. In New York, the operator for the powerhouse NPR station WNYC said Wednesday that its CEO, LaFontaine Oliver, is moving into a new position, executive chair, that's been created in response to the threats to federal funding. Oliver will focus on new funding models and try to find financial support from other non-federal sources. Put it in street terms, what they're going to do is his job to get out there and be the fundraiser. That's it. Bottom line, all that fancy talk, they're going to put Oliver, you're going to come out of your office, they created you a new position, you're going to be the front person, you're going to be the spokesperson, it's your job to raise money to keep it going. That's it. That's the nutshell. In San Francisco, the KQED radio and TV network said it's laying off about 15% of its staff, cutting financial uncertainties. So despite today's setback, we are determined to keep fighting to preserve the essential services we provide to the American public, Kirk said. Listen, there are enough of philanthropists out there that are going to help these organizations. And I mean that sincerely. There are enough. And see, when I talk, listen to y'all, when I'm talking, this is not me. I say a lot of the things that people want to say and they don't say them. Just like, how did they MAGA justify making Trump the president? He speaks for us. He articulates what we can't say. Isn't that what they've been saying for years? Oh, we love him. We like him. I don't have anything against Donald Trump personally. You know, if I don't know people, I don't hold anything against them. I can't make judgments and assertions and conclusions about people that I don't know. I'm not screaming into the microphone. That ain't happening. Listen, I am not a joke. I'm not a clown. And this is not a clown show. If you want that kind of stuff, go over to somebody else's channel and you can play all the games that you want over there. But you don't come over here with me. I'm a full-grown man, an intelligent, articulate black man. And I do not play games. Now let me finish this dialogue. See, this is what folk don't understand. It is time to grow up and become mature men and women. Set your priorities straight. Get your house in order. Learn how to prepare for the uncertainty, because when things happen and you're not prepared for them, how are you going to handle it? When disaster happens, when fires happen, when floods happen, when quote unquote firings happen. Forget about the term layoff. People get fired. Get your stuff, throw it in the box, get out. No, we don't thank you for your service, just get out. Then you have some thug walk you out into the curb and all that kind of foolishness. Create your own job. Create your own opportunities. Open up doors for yourself. Don't depend upon somebody else to do what you can do for you. All right, I'm going to get ready for the next video here. You know? What do you think? What do you think, Earl? A lot of the brothers that I did time with, they watched this program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, never surrender, never quit.